legendary actress Betty White passes away just hours before New Year's and just days before her 100th birthday. So we'll talk a bit about what went on with her. I'm not really an entertainment columnist, but given the fact that she has had this much impact on the culture, it is worth noting, so we'll talk just a bit about what happened there. In other news... Sorry, I've been away for a little while here. Marjorie Taylor Greene is suspended permanently from Twitter. Completely. She's done. She's gone. So we'll talk a bit about what went on there and what this means for the general discourse. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doubles down and tells everybody that they only noticed that she was in Florida without a mask on because they can't date her. And no, I'm not joking. That actually happened. And Antonio Brown exits the field shirtless after being sidelined for vaccine faking. A whole lot of drama comes up here, and we could probably see a lot more of this coming in later parts of the discourse as well. So we will watch for that. It is going to be all of this and more over on Contemporary. You're just mad you can't date me. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.
Show me the one whose safety deems such destruction. This is the way.
My God! You have no idea how you miss a computer that reacts when you click on something until you don't have it. Jeez. It's so nice to actually click on an article and have it load right up and be ready there for you. First world problems, I know, but that old HP, she's probably on her last leg here, or probably needs good cleaning, one of the two. Because it is... wow. A lot of stuff happened here over the weekend here. Not like a 40 tabber. I'm kind of surprised by that. I figured we'd come back out here and this would be like a 7-hour show with some stuff that I missed throughout the past week and some stuff that's happened over the weekend here because, you know, they all stayed on their best behavior for Christmas. And I will. For the week between Christmas, I will give them a lot of credit. Our friends and our, quote, betters in the mainstream media who did settle down just a little bit throughout the week between. So, I mean, we had, what was the top that we had? 21 articles in the week between the two? That was the top that we had here. We actually had decent length shows, and, well, part of that was the fact that the computer didn't want to react, and actually it probably would have been shorter shows even still if it wasn't for the fact that we had to sit around and, you know, do this. Because once the processor dumps on that laptop, it is... the first thing that goes is the wireless card. In the midstream, the first thing that goes is the wireless card. So, when it goes, when it dumps, then you're just sitting there like, oh, hey, reconnecting. And sometimes that took upwards of 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. So, well, we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, welcome back to Contemporary. Welcome back to the home Contemporary studio. My name is Jay Edgar, and we have got a bunch of stuff to get to. Like, wow, like I say, it's not a ridiculous amount, but there's still a bunch of stuff to get to here. So let's get right into it here. Before we get into anything at all, congratulations on 3 years of the Daily Ignoramus. I think we're going to be seeing some of those guys in here today. I think that we are going to be, well, I know that he's going for 24 hours for the rest of the day, and there is going to be a night show. It's not going to be a news show. There's going to be an announcement coming up here at 5:30 tonight, so guys, come back and hang out for that. I think that's going to be a fun time. Can't really tell you what it is. I think most of you know already what's going to be happening with this, but we are taking the Monday night show in a different direction at this point because, well, I think you all know why. But anyway, yeah. come back here, join us at 5:30 tonight for that. And if we do get some of the ignorance in, welcome on in. Come back in, hang out with us, and subscribe and hang out with us before the Daily Ignoramus every day. All right, let's get into it. Starting with selling of the wares. Guys, go check out turnsofpagesproductions.com. Today is the day. I'm going to sit down in this computer today and get the Give, Send, Go set up. Today is the day. I know I said I was going to do it on the week between holidays. That didn't happen, unfortunately. I know I said I was going to do it on this day, on that day. That didn't happen, unfortunately. But today is the day. I'm going to chain myself to this chair. I'm going to get that set up. But don't let that stop you from coming back and bookmarking the page, turnsofpagesproductions.com. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great news site where you can come back and get some news by the common man for the common man and see great shows such as the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Breckenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, an unknown so far Brit project that's coming up, and the Porch Boys. So go and check that channel out. It's going to be a great time. There's some great people there. Go check out all those channels as well. So hang out with us, bookmark the page, and we'll see you when you get here. All right, looking in at your Dow. The Dow has dropped 59.78. That's what we had on New Year's Eve, which I believe was a short day as well. I don't think that they traded the entire day for that, but we are down to 36.3, 38.30. And the futures look like they are going to cover that back up. They're actually going to come back up and start off above where we were there. So we'll see what happens with the Dow throughout the day. I know there's some stuff that's waiting and there's some stuff that's boosting the markets right now. Looking in at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is down to 46,862 US dollars and 60 US cents. So that is a $436 drop throughout the day yesterday, 0.92%. Bitcoin, it's not my forte. It's not the one that I like. And, well, I have lost some in Shibu. I know that, but I know that Doge was where I did the best in my investment with crypto. So that was one there. But, I mean, look in, see what you got with that, and see where that goes. We'll see what happens with that. Looking at your industrials. On your industrials, copper is up, steel is down, aluminum is up. Looking at your individual plays. Number one, Bear Bright copper wire is up, tubing is up, flashing copper is up, insulated copper wire is down. Looks like all of the copper plays are actually up right now. Conduit steel is up, light iron is down. Looks like every other steel play is down except for stainless steel, which is up. On aluminum, cans are up, but everything else is down right now. So we'll see what happens with that. Looking at some other plays, electric motors are up, ballasts are down, lead is down, batteries are up. Catalytic converters are up, which means that the manufacturers are going to start ramping up auto production once again, so watch for that. Compressors are up, alternators are down, carbide is down. Computer parts, hard drives are down, motherboards are down, power supplies, low-grade boards, and PC towers are all up. So assess your scrap, look in, and see where the markets are going to go as far as futures for all of those things, and we will move on from there. Let's grab one from IBD for the morning. Dow Jones Futures, Tesla deliveries crush views, stock eyes breakout, bring on the 2022 market rally. From Ed Carson. Dow Jones Futures rose Monday morning along with S&P 500 Futures and NASDAQ Futures, signaling a solid start for the market rally in 2022. Tesla deliveries blew out Q4 forecast Sunday following a strong delivery from Chinese EV rivals. Tesla stock signaled a breakout with NIO, XPeng, and Li Auto stock also rising. The rally rose slightly last week, capping a solid, if choppy, 2021, if the S&P 500 and Dow hits a record high while the NASDAQ is close. EV stocks are in focus to start 2022. Tesla delivered 308,600 vehicles in the fourth quarter, crushing consensus analyst forecasts and exceeding the most optimistic targets. Tesla stock wrapped up around Christmas time, then traded tightly near a trend line that has turned into a handle buy point. On Saturday, China startups NIO, XPeng, and Li Auto reported strong December deliveries. XPeng and Li Auto showed bullish actions late last week, while NIO also rebounded. China EV giant BYD released record December sales early Monday. Meanwhile, Datadog also has a weekly handle like Tesla, while AMD is working on a handle-like pause in its short consolidation. All are finding support near their 50-day lines. Tesla and AMD are on the IBD leaderboard and the IBD 50. Datadog was Friday's IBD stock of the day. On your futures, the Dow rose 0.45% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures climbed 0.6% and Nasdaq futures 0.75%. Tesla is boosting S&P 500 and Nasdaq futures. The 10-year Treasury yield rose 3 basis points to 1.54%. Crude oil futures climbed less than 1% overnight. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So that is what we see coming up off the markets to start the new year, first trading day of the year. Let's grab one from CNBC and let's get into the big news of the day. Getting through all the advertisements that the ad blocker was supposed to take care of. Dow Futures Rise 150 points ahead of the first trading day of 2022 from Jesse Pound. Stock futures rose sharply in pre-market trading Monday, with investors showing hope about the economy's ability to overcome the surge in COVID cases and focusing on progress from the nation's automakers. Futures tied, the Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped 153 points, or 0.4%. S&P 500 futures rose 0.5%, and Nasdaq 100 futures advanced about 0.6%. Stocks have a tendency to gain in the start of the new year as investors look to put new money to work. Bank of America noted Monday the S&P 500 was up in the first week of the calendar in 11 of the last 13 years, with an average gain of about 1.6% on the firm found. Tesla helped the market generate some early momentum on Monday, rising 7.6% in pre-market trading after the electric vehicle company reported 308,600 deliveries in the fourth quarter, beating expectations. Reopening stocks also pushed higher in early action. Airlines including Delta, United, American, and Southwest edged higher as investors shrugged off concerns about holiday flight cancellations that ended Monday. Alaska Air rose 2.3%. Meanwhile, Carnival and Norwegian gained about 2% apiece, along with Tesla. Big automakers saw their shares climb, with Ford Motor and GM each climbing 1.6%. The move in futures came after markets closed out a strong 2021 last week. The S&P 500 rose nearly 27% for the year, with the Nasdaq Composite and Dow also posting large returns. Stocks fell slightly on Friday, but the S&P 500 and Dow were positive for the final week of the year. So a few things moving on here. We'll see what happens with the markets. We'll see what happens into the new year. Let's start by talking about Betty White. And let's start with listening to the video that they had to talk about here.
It's a good day. How can anything go wrong? It's a good day from morning till night.
Betty White's cheerful Hollywood career began in her teens, and by her 20s, she was a fixture on television with her own daily talk show. Ahead of the times, White co-founded her own production company in 1952. She worked on a variety of television and film projects over the years before turning a 1973 guest appearance on The Mary Tyler Moore Show into a permanent role. White was a scene stealer as the man-hungry Sue Ann Nivens.
I think a man should be virile and macho and just reeking with masculinity.
Her second signature role was on the beloved series The Golden Girls as the comical Rose Nyland.
And they attack chickens. I don't care about chickens, Rose. She didn't call me chicken. She called me peacock.
You look more like a chicken when you're angry. Your neck sticks out.
With the Golden Girls, I got to play with those silly ladies every week, and I loved Rose Nyland. She was positive, and she wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but she wasn't dumb. She was just terminally naive.
Off-screen, White married 3 times. She called her third husband, TV host Alan Ludden, the love of her life. They were together almost 20 years before Ludden died of stomach cancer in 1981.
And you never remarried, huh?
Nope. When you've had the best, who needs the rest?
A devoted pet lover, White was a longtime advocate for animal welfare. She called television her hobby and animals her work. Yet her hobby kept her busy. White's talents as an actress and comedian were in demand well into her senior years. Following a grassroots Facebook campaign in 2010, White became the oldest person ever to host Saturday Night Live at the age of 88.
You know what's an accomplishment? staying awake on the toilet.
The show earned huge ratings and White her 7th Emmy Award. Later that year, White took on another role on TV Land's Hot in Cleveland.
I thought that you weren't coming.
Well, I ran out of vodka. And I thought I'd come over here and freshen up my drunk.
In her 90s, White was as popular as ever with several ongoing film and television projects.
How lucky can a 90-year-old broad be? I have no idea. And I'm still working. That's the thing that's such a thrill.
Love for her warm smile, wit, and off-color humor, White didn't miss a beat when asked if there were any Hollywood projects she'd still like to do.
I usually answer that question with Robert Redford. No, I think I've been lucky enough to do just about so much that if I start complaining about anything under the sun, throw me out of the business.
All right, sorry about that. I had to step away, but just a nice little review of Betty White's career as well. So, I mean, some of the stuff that I didn't actually even know about her. I mean, for me, White came onto the radar with Golden Girls, obviously, because my parents liked the show when it was still new, when it was running its first set of reruns. But, you know, I'm born in '84. So that's the first appearance that I have for her. So, I mean, good on her for the career, and I mean, good on the positivity as well. Of, you know, I can't really complain about the stuff that I missed. We should all live to 99, obviously, but I mean, we should all sit back and look back at our lives and say, how can I complain about anything that I missed when I've done so much already? And if I try to complain, take me out of here. So good on her. Let's see. Reading from this is Week.com out of Peoria, Illinois, 25 News. Betty White, whose saucy up-for-anything charm made it a television mainstay for more than 60 years, whether as man-crazy TV hostess on The Mary Tyler Moore Show or the loopy housemaid on The Golden Girls, has died. She was 99. White's death was confirmed Friday by Jeff Whitchus, her longtime agent and friend. She would have turned 100 on January 17th. I truly never thought she was going to pass away, Whitchus told the Associated Press. She meant the world to me as a friend. She was the most positive person I've ever known. Whitchus said that White has been staying close to her Los Angeles home during the pandemic out of caution, but had no diagnosed illness. It was unclear if she died Thursday night or Friday, he said. Her death brought tributes from celebrities and politicians alike. We loved Betty White, First Lady Jill Biden said as she and President Joe Biden left a restaurant in Wilmington, Delaware. Added the president, 99 years old, as my mother would say. God love her. She was great at defying expectations, Ryan Reynolds, who starred alongside her in the comedy The Proposal, tweeted. She managed to grow very old and somehow not old enough. We will miss you, Betty. White launched her TV career in daytime talk shows, and the medium was still in its infancy and endured well into the age of cable and streaming. Her combination of sweetness and edginess gave life to a roster of quirky characters in shows from the sitcom Life with Elizabeth in the early 50s to oddball Rose Nyland and the Golden Girls in the 80s to Boston Legal, which ran from 04 to 08. But it was in 10 that White's stardom erupted as never before. In a Snickers commercial that premiered during that year's Super Bowl telecast, she impersonated an energy-sapped dude getting tackled during a backlot football game. Mike, you're playing like Betty White out there, jeered one of the chums. White, flat on the ground, covered in mud, fired back, "That's not what your girlfriend said." I remember that one, actually. That was funny. The instantly viral video helped spark a Facebook campaign called Betty White to host SNL Please, whose 500,000 fans led to her co-hosting Saturday Night Live in a much-watched, much-hailed edition that Mother's Day weekend. The appearance won her a 7th Emmy Award. So, a lot of stuff there. No confirmation as far as I could see so far as to what it was that took her. So close. I mean, with somebody with so much drive to survive. What took her so early, but you know, once again, how do you not celebrate a life like that? How do you not? Good on her for a life lived. Absolutely. From ABC7 Eyewitness News, Pink's Hot Dogs giving proceeds from sales of Betty White Naked Hot Dog to Los Angeles Zoo. So here is one charity that's already out there looking for this, looking to find a way to come back out and, you know, do some well off of this too. And of course, always do your research before you donate to charity. I always do, but let's see what we have there. No author given. A staple in the LA food scene is giving back to the city in a big way to honor the legacy of Betty White and her love for animals. Pink's Hot Dogs in Hollywood says this week the restaurant will be selling the Betty White Naked Hot Dog, and 100% of the proceeds from the sales will go to the LA Zoo. A banner was spotted at the restaurant on Sunday that reads, "Betty White, we will love you forever." White, who died at 99 on New Year's Eve, is a well-known animal lover and worked closely with several LA animal organizations. She officially joined the Greater Los Angeles Zoo Association's Board of Trustees in '74. She took a break in '97 to become a member of the Board of Zoo Commissioners, a role she served in for 8 years. She later became chair of the Plaza Board in 2010. You can pick up the Betty White Naked Hot Dog at Pink's now for $5.20. Betty White's Naked Dog, just the beef and the bun, absolutely no toppings. The restaurant is located on La Brea near Melrose. So there you go. If you're in the Los Angeles area, you want a hot dog, think about Pink's. Because it goes to a good cause, and it's a remembrance of a good cause. Alright. We've been good. We've been nice. We've honored the past. Now let's go talk about some of the rest of the Twitter drama and the other stupid shit that's happening around here. Starting with this from Davey Alba, over on Twitter, who tweets out, "New! Marjorie Taylor Greene's account has been permanently suspended from Twitter." I mean, you can hear the guy in the microphone, or in his tweeting too. Twitter statement: "We permanently suspended the account for repeated violations of our COVID-19 misinformation policy." Twitter confirms that Marjorie Taylor Greene has gotten up to 5 strikes on its COVID-19 misinformation policy. She's not coming back. Wait, I'm not supposed to be laughing right now. Why am I laughing? That's David Alba right now, while he's tweeting this. More. Twitter also confirms she has access to her official account, Rep MTG, but it's not currently in violation of the Twitter rules. Hey, but Twitter's banned accounts before, notably Trump for ban evasion, so if a violating tweet appears there, it'll likely be suspended too, but don't worry, I'm not excited about that. Hey, here's our first cut, story to continue to be updated. MTG responds on Telegram since she can't tweet. Twitter's an enemy to America and can't handle the truth. Which, this is a fun one here. Today, Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene released the following statement after her personal Twitter account was banned. Maxine Waters can go to the streets and threaten violence on Twitter. Kamala and Ilhan can bail out Black Lives Matter terrorists on Twitter. CNN and the rest of the Democrat propaganda media can spread Russia collusion lies, and just yesterday, the chief spokesman for terrorist IRGC can tweet Morning Soleimani, but I get suspended for tweeting Bayer statistics. Twitter is an enemy to America and can't handle the truth. That's fine. I'll show America we don't need them, and it's time to defeat our enemies. They can't successfully complete a communist revolution when people tell the truth. Social media platforms can't stop the truth from being spread far and wide. Big tech can't stop the truth. Communist Democrats can't stop the truth. I stand with the truth and with the people. We will overcome. See, I'm not actually in Georgia, so I can use that accent again to make fun of Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's her statement on the whole thing. Okay, and here's our latest with more context about MTG's rise to prominence on social media as an outspoken supporter of Trump, QAnon, and anti-vax rhetoric. No, we're not going to read that from the Times. Fuck you. We've got one from NPR instead. But I mean, this guy is just, he's going on and off about, on and on and on and on about this. This guy's kind of obsessed. I'm not going to lie. Let's read one here from our friends over at NPR. And make sure that you donate up there, because the red button is there. They need our money, comrade, to continue pushing these communist ideals around the world. So make sure you get up there, you hit that donate button. Twitter bans Marjorie Taylor Greene's personal account over COVID misinformation. This is from Joe Hernandez over at NPR, where they need our money, comrade. The quiet microphones don't buy themselves, and they need our money. The government stipends don't do enough. So make sure, as soon as you're done with the article, everything that you don't need to survive goes over to NPR, because they need it. They need that. Otherwise, the right wing might win. National Progressive Radio, never printing reality, NPR. Let's see what they have to say. Oops, wrong window. Scrolling in the wrong window here. Twitter has permanently suspended the personal account of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene for repeated violations of our Pinko fucking Pox information policy. In an email to NPR, a spokesperson for the social media company said Twitter had been clear that per our strike system for the policy, we will permanently suspend accounts for repeated violations of the policy. On Saturday, Greene tweeted a thread about the public health measures imposed during the pandemic, criticizing many of the efforts health officials say were critical in preventing more deaths from the virus and slowing its spread in the U.S. The Georgia Republicans' official government Twitter account is still active, the company confirmed. Greene, in a statement following her Twitter suspension, said Twitter was an enemy to America and can't handle the truth. That's fine. I'll show America we don't need them. That sounds like, I'm sorry. This really follows on to my thoughts of Marjorie Taylor Greene and the fact that I don't think she's an authentic politician. I think she's a plant by the Democrats so they had a boogeyman throughout the years that Trump was out of office. I think she was planted there to be the MAGA, the face of MAGA, while Trump was suspended and not in office. I legitimately believe that's what she was there for. And I mean, this just confirms it here. I mean, this sounds like drunken, white trash prom queen finding out that, no, not prom queen, because everybody would have had to vote for her. Drunken, white trash prep girl being carried out of prom drunk, makeup running down, finding out that nobody actually likes her. They tolerate her because she's at the top of the social food chain, screaming out, I don't need any of you. I can make it on my own. That's what that reeks of right there. You can't handle me, okay? Saw a lot of them being carried out of the bar, too, throughout my 20s. A lot of times it came after a breakup, I noticed, too. You can't break up with me. I'm breaking up with you. Social media platforms can't stop the truth from being spread far and wide. Big tech can't stop the truth. Communist Democrats can't stop the truth, she added. Twitter accounts with 5 or more strikes face a permanent suspension from the platform, according to Twitter policies. Green was temporarily suspended from Twitter in January of 2021 for violating the company's civic integrity policy, which they just made up, which the company had used to remove thousands of QAnon-related accounts. Going back to what I just said a second ago. Green has also endorsed the QAnon conspiracy theory in the past. Do you know... This is a question for the chat, and I know that most of my chat's over in Ignoramus's show today. Which, once again, congratulations to him for 3 years into this. Do you actually know anybody at all who believes QAnon? Do you know anybody in the world who believes the Q theory? I hear a lot about it from the mainstream media. I hear a lot about it from them. But I've never met anybody who actually believes any of it. For the most part, anybody I've ever met, when it comes to QAnon, just made fun of it the whole time. In May, she faced criticisms from her own party beyond comparing the pinko pox safety measures to the treatment of Jews during the Holocaust. Well, if the Democrats don't want us to compare the pinko pox restrictions to the Holocaust, then stop doing stuff that they did in 30s Germany. The House of Representatives removed Green from her committee assignments in February. She'd been condemned for promoting racist, anti-Semitic, and false conspiracy theories for encouraging violence against Democrat officials before she took office. So, yep, she is gone. Do we have a sounder for that? That's enough of that. And also look for a quiet primary coming up this year in the midterms, in which Marjorie Taylor Greene is conveniently defeated by an establishment Bush Republican. And nobody in America ever hears about Georgia 14 ever again. Let's keep going. More AOC biscuit news. So we talked about this. We talked about this on Friday, on New Year's Eve, about the fact that AOC biscuit got caught in Florida, and even DeSantis came out and said, "Hey, welcome to Florida, where it's free. Hope you enjoy your stay," which I thought was kind of nice of him. I thought that was really nice of him. That's a nice thing to say. But she was caught in Miami, maskless, with the boyfriend, by the way, with the feet in the sandals, which, I mean, that's not the ultimate sin. From a guy who wore boots the whole time he was in Florida. I know that certain people, especially yuppies who have trust fund money and dating congressperson money and kickbacks from lobbyist money, they could go out, they could be more casual when they're somewhere down in super hot Miami in the summer here. But the big controversy off of this, and we talked about this on Friday, was the fact that she's there maskless. While she is supporting imposing mask mandates for her district and for the rest of the country, here she is in Miami, maskless. Not hung around the ear. There doesn't appear to be one in sight either. I mean, it's just the one photo. It's a paparazzi photo, but I mean, there doesn't seem to be one at quick access here. And yes, even if there's no mandate in place, you still have the freedom to go above and beyond. You can still wear the mask, even if there's no mandate in place. That's one of the nice parts about the personal freedoms that we have. But this is what started, and I mean, this is where it ends here. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweets out, "If Republicans are mad, they can't date me. They can just say that instead of projecting their sexual frustrations onto my boyfriend's feet. You creepy weirdos." And honestly, I think Cortez, I don't think there was a reason to bring the other guy into it. He's not an elected official. Yes, he is continuing to be seen with an elected official. There was no reason to bring him into this, and I've been consistent on that. Leave the kids out of it. Leave the wives out of it. Leave the husbands out of it. Boyfriends, etc. out of it. Leave the rest of all of them out of it. They're not the elected officials that you're criticizing. They have no policy sway other than putting the quarter in the air and saying, "Hey, can you get her? Can you get him to do this here?" It's starting to get very old, Poppy, ignoring the very obvious, strange and deranged sexual frustrations that underpin Republican fixation on me. Women and LGBTQ+ and PPIARXTLNEY people in general. These people clearly need therapy, won't do it, and use politics as their outlet instead. It's really weird, Poppy. So, a lot of stuff going on with that, a lot of stuff moving with that, and of course she has been roundly criticized over this because, yeah, this has nothing to do with that, but, you know, she can come back off and there's been an argument over why do people find Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hot. I said it as a meme back in 2018 when she first came in. Although she's really not quite my type. I would prefer a girl a little bit more bottom heavy than her if I were to go out after somebody. Plus, you know, having to listen to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talk would be enough to turn anybody off. But, I mean, to look at her objectively and, you know, the way that I've lived my life. I mean, you look at her. She is reasonably somewhat attractive, and a lot of people pointed out that with politics becoming the new pop culture, with everybody knowing more about politicians that they're designed to know about rather than their own politician, then if you stack her up against Amy Klobuchar, Nancy Pelosi, Elizabeth Warren, then I mean she looks like a knockout compared to that. But she can come out and do the preppy girl thing. Why are you so obsessed with me? Okay, Poppy, I can't think of her name. I could think of the actress name, Rachel McAdams. Why can I not think... No, it's not Rachel McAdams. Why can I can see her face from Mean Girls? Regina George. She is Regina George at this point. Let's see some of the criticism from the Daily Wire. Ocasio-Cortez slammed for claiming, "Republicans are mad they can't date me. Broke the cringe meter." The Honorable and Venerable Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, D-Twitch, faced backlash late this week after claiming that Republicans criticize her because they're mad they can't date me. Hence the new title card of the show. The Let's Go Brandon thing is starting to get a little bit played out, so we had to do a new one. Ocasio-Cortez faced criticisms after she was caught hanging out in Miami, Florida, as her city dealt with a record-breaking number of daily coronavirus cases. National Review reported that, according to photographs obtained by the publication, Ocasio-Chavez was seated out the Daraku Sushi and Izakaya in Miami Beach on Thursday afternoon, raising a cocktail in one hand and checking her phone in the other. If Republicans are mad they can't date me, they can just say that instead of projecting their sexual frustrations onto my boyfriend's feet. Ocasio-Cortez responded to one of the critics calling her out. "Ya creepy weirdos." It's starting to get old, ignoring the very obvious, strange, and deranged sexual frustrations that underpin Republican fixation on me, women, and LGBTQ+ people in general, AOC continued. These people clearly need therapy, Poppy. I won't do it and use politics as their outlet instead. It's really weird. Notable responses. This will be fun. To Chavez's tweet include Kurt Schlichter. Well, this broke the cringe meter. Dave Rubin. People are fixated with you for being an entitled, hypocritical, socialist, lockdown happy vaccine mandate while while vacationing in the free state of Florida. You just suck as a person and a public servant. That's really the extent of it. I agree with that. Amber Athey, journalist, saying you don't want to date me proves that you want to date me. This is peak cringe millennial women brain. Brian Riedel, economist. Ladies and gentlemen, your U.S. Congress. Jennifer Van Laar, journalist. Republican women are not sexually frustrated, ma'am. Perhaps your fixation on our sex lives is a bit of projection. John Gabriel, same. The only reason anyone disagrees with my article is because I'm so hot. Yeah, that's the only reason anybody comes into Twitch right now, too. They're just mad they can't date me. That's the only reason they come in here, to start to try to sidetrack the argument so they can pull us all away. Andrew Follett. Nobody on the right wants to date you. Nobody. We just think it's hilarious that you fled to a free state when your home state is going through a crisis and that you use your boyfriend to embezzle money from your donors. Carol Markowitz. Remember when AOC had someone really sharp tweeting for her and that person was the king and the queen of clapback? She should rehire them. John Fun, political commentator, says, I'm beginning to think that AOC has been protected from herself until now by handlers. She may not be ready for prime time. Chuck U. Schumer might just breathe a sigh of relief. So that's some of the fun stuff that came back out of that. And one of the other things that was pointed out to me while I was having discussions about this particular topic with other people outside of any of this goes all the way back to, you guys remember all the way back to, I mean, we've got to reach really far back in history for this. When was that? Was that, I need to look up my month. I have the year. I have the proper year. I just need to know the month. That was longer ago than I thought. That was way longer ago than I thought. So, way back in history, it was, according to this, it was February of 2021 in Texas, when Cortez ran down to Texas to go start handing out supplies and everything, because Texas was going through a crisis of its own at this point, and roundly criticized Ted Cruz for going to Mexico. Oh wait, which I criticized him for that too. I thought that was a bad idea. Even if he can't do anything, he should at least be in his home without power, just like the rest of his constituents. Even if he can't do anything, because the people that are running away from it are cowards. And he got roundly criticized for this, but in the same time, in the midst of a crisis, he walked away. Now, right now, New York City and New York State, by extension, are both going through crises with the Omicron variant. There are more people being sick. There are more hospitalizations right now in New York City. You don't hear a lot about it from the mainstream media because it doesn't fit the narrative. It's not coming from a red state governor. But yes, New York City is going through its own crisis of Omicron right now, and here's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ringing in the new year in Free Miami rather than Times Square, where she can't even go anyway because we had to close it down once again because of the Omicron. Just want to remind you guys that that happened all the way back in February of 2021. I know, we had to do some reaching. Let's find some more reactions here. Bay Backup, formerly Legally Bay, over on Twitter with the Defiant L's meme platform. This is 9921. I know Republicans' idea of disaster relief is flying to Cancun while power is still out, but unlike that approach, I actually give a damn, puppy. On 12/30/21, Philip Klein tweets out, breaking, AOC spotted in Miami Beach as New York City reports record COVID cases. And another one, because it's Shu. Guys, should I ask Shu out? Should I ask Shu out, seriously? Biden voters posting their L's online. Shu is quote tweeting Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's famous tweet, if Republicans are mad, they just can't thank me, they could just say that, saying, yes, this is me, after I'm featured on Biden voters posting their L's for a 400th time in a week. And of course, that started with the argument of, I don't know why people think AOC is hot. And that's my response. Make sure they actually think that. I said it as a meme right after she won the primary because I was coming out of a point in my life where I was well known as a womanizer and it fit my MO, but in reality, never in a million years. Alright, let's keep going. More Florida stuff. From the New York Post. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis taking care of sick wife, not missing. From Dana Kennedy. And then, of course, we've got an article going back with that showing where people were saying that Ron DeSantis himself was missing. This is from Dana Kennedy. Florida man Governor Ron DeSantis was with his wife as she underwent cancer treatment during a recent COVID-19 surge in his state, his spokesman said. Casey DeSantis, 41, was diagnosed with breast cancer in October and underwent treatment on Thursday, the governor's spokesman told Fox News. The same day, critics slammed DeSantis as being missing while his state was dealing with increased coronavirus cases. Jerry Demings, the Democratic mayor of Orange County, slammed DeSantis last week, saying Florida residents should be outraged with DeSantis not being seen publicly as coronavirus cases spiked. And they should ask the question, now where's our state? Where's our governor? Demings said. Where's Ron DeSantis now? When was the last time you saw the governor do a press briefing regarding the pinko fucking pox? Other critics, including the honorable and venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Chavez, D-Twitch, piled on social media accusing him of being inexplicably missing. And then went to his state. Hasn't Governor DeSantis been inexplicably missing for like 2 weeks, puppy? Ocasio-Chavez wrote in a tweet during a visit to Florida. If he's around, I would be happy to say hello. His social media team seems to have been posting old photos for weeks, puppy. In the meantime, perhaps I could... Oh, that's still the voice. In the meantime, perhaps I could help with local organizing, said Ocasio-Cortez, who was pictured without a mask while dining outside in Miami. Folks are quite receptive here. Well, yeah, that's because they haven't branded anybody who has an idea that's even remotely distant from their own as evil. Misguided maybe, but not evil like they do in your state. There is no try. MSDNC host Joyless Reed joined the attack, tweeting, "A governor not governing during a crisis and sunning his belly on vacation instead. Ron DeSantis is the Nero of Ted Cruz's." Wow, Joy Reed, you really had to reach for that one, didn't you? DeSantis press secretary Christina Pushaw tweeted back at Reed, attaching photos of the governor's daily schedule, and asked, "Have you ever considered that you're one of the reasons nobody trusts the media?" DeSantis communications staffer Kyle Lamb also responded to critics on Twitter who were questioning whether DeSantis was on vacation. She wrote, "Just FYI, DeSantis is not on vacation. Literally no one from our office has said that he is." So, that's where we go with that. And a push, well, kind of pushing in the same direction here from the Blaze, before we discuss some of what happened with that as well. From Chris Enlow. Dems accused Ron DeSantis of going on vacation amid a COVID surge. He was actually accompanying his wife to cancer treatment. So we don't need to go deep into this one here, except to grab a couple of extra responses that weren't in the original article. So we've got Tiffany Cross from also MSDNC. The incompetent Trump acolyte appears to be missing in action as Omicron sweeps across his state. The Daily Beast says, please take a moment from your vacation, Ron DeSantis, and reassure Florida. Nikki Fried, of whom one of her constituents, who I'm friends with, says things that will get me taken down off of YouTube. Nikki Fried says, as governor, all showed up, she said on Friday. DeSantis did not abandon his governor duties like critics claimed. Instead, he was with his wife on December 29th as she underwent a treatment for breast cancer, Fox News reported. The DeSantis family shared Casey's diagnosis in October. In fact, DeSantis press secretary Christina Pushaw explained that DeSantis was at the Capitol every day last week except Wednesday when he accompanied his wife while she underwent the treatment. If you've ever had a loved one fighting cancer, you understand that spending time with family is not always a vacation, Pushaw said. Dude, I don't know what it is with like the glasses and that hat, but that looks really cool. And I know because of these, I can't wear it. Pushaw also directly responded to Reid's accusations by posting a copy of DeSantis' schedule on December 30th, thus revealing a busy day of work at the Capitol, and said, have you ever considered that you're one of the reasons that nobody trusts the media? So, and Kyle Lamb said the same thing that we just saw in the last article. So, I mean, it is... Look. I understand that there is a certain level of expectation. And there's a difference in expectations between what people like Cortez and Joy Reid and Tiffany Cross and Jerry Demings. There is a difference in the level of expectation of what they're telling the common man to expect from their politicians versus what I expect from them. And I've made this point clear. Because these are the same people that are telling all of their audience members or the constituents, whichever the case may be, that the government needs to hold your hand, do everything for you, pay everything for you, get you your own housing, your own this, your own that, your own everything. That's what these people actually believe. Or that's what they tell their constituents to believe, is what they do. And then some of them, like the MSDNC people, get to go out and be the mouthpieces for the politicians who are telling their constituents to do this. But I do understand that even under my view, as a political leader, as a politician, there is the expectation that you need to be there 24/7 because you're not a leader, you're a public servant. You are an employee of the people and the people that voted for you and the people that didn't vote for you. But constituents, as the boss, you got to make this go both ways. This can't just be a one-way street for you either.
Show me the one whose safety
If you're the boss and you continually overwork the people that are under your charge, because your politicians work for you, keep that in mind, then they will go somewhere else. The guy is with his wife for one day out of the office and not making public appearances. Still working, but not making public appearances. And you expect to be able to just push a button and have him up on the stage. Meanwhile, the President of the United States took, how long did it take him? 6 months before he actually made a press conference of his own, and still doesn't take questions afterwards. Careful, your double standard is showing. Alright, I don't know if we're going to see Mad Cow Mark today or not, but I got one from Sky News for him today. I know he always urges me to grab some from Sky News, and I had choices on this one. I could have gone CNN, NBC, there was a Fox one for this, but I saw Sky News and I said, nope, we're going to take this one from Sky News. Pink Coat Pox Antarctica Research Station battling coronavirus outbreak. Oh, there's more article. I'm like, is this all the text in this article? No, it's an advertisement. Shut it back now. I don't have an author given on this, and I guess I know that some of these foreign publications don't do that here. Princess Elizabeth Polar Station implemented strict rules to avoid infections, but at least 16 of its 25 workers have tested positive, according to a report. A research station in Antarctica is battling a coronavirus outbreak, with at least 16 of the 25 workers testing positive for the virus. Princess Elizabeth Polar Station, a Belgian facility, implemented strict rules to avoid a pink coat pox infection, Le Soir reported. According to the magazine, the first positive case was identified on 14 December, along with members of a team who had arrived at a facility a week earlier after traveling from South Africa. 2 other members of the traveling party then tested positive. All 3 were evacuated on 23 December, but more workers continue to come down with the pink coat fucking pox. All of the team members have received 2 vaccine doses, and none of those who have the virus are experiencing severe symptoms, Le Soir reported. The station has 2 emergency doctors on site, equipment to treat people who develop severe symptoms, and the ability to analyze PCR tests. Workers are required to provide a negative test before traveling from Belgium to South Africa, while they have also have to quarantine in South Africa and test negative before traveling to Antarctica. South Africa is where the more transmissible Omicron variant of coronavirus was first identified. Arrivals to the station, the world's first zero-emission polar research station, have been prohibited until the outbreak has been stopped. Okay, well, none of them are having major symptoms. Cool. The Omicron wins again. Everybody's going to have that nice, robust natural immunity, plus going on with their vaccination status. I don't see the downside to this. Other than, of course, the fact that, well, to the left it's the downside. To the rest of us who think clearly, it's an upside. Other than the fact that, of course, now everybody has to come back and admit that, oh no, by the way, this doesn't prevent the virus. It doesn't prevent the virus from spreading, I should say. That does not look zero emission to me. That is a lot of steel that was used, that had a lot of coal used to make it. That does not look zero emission in any stretch of the imagination. It's almost like nobody here understands what a manufacturing process is. This was funny. Watch, Tampa Bay wide receiver Antonio Brown exits field shirtless after removing shoulder pads and jersey mid-game. From Joe Morgan. Yeah, we'll talk about the update here in just a second. Let's just watch the video and let's grab some of these 2 MSM articles from it. But this tweet comes from the Sporting News, the full video of Antonio Brown walking off the field while taking off his uniform. And another angle. The Fox NFL broadcast that teammates Mike Evans and O.J. Howard attempted to calm Brown down before he began removing his uniform and exiting the field.
Very odd situation. Antonio Brown boiled over, very upset on the sideline, took off his shoulder pads. Mike Evans, O.J. Howard trying to convince him to keep them on. Obviously, they were unable to do so. He tossed his shoulder pads, stripped off his shirt and glove, threw those into the crowd, then ran across the field while the teams were still on the field, giving the crowd a peace out sign. I'll let you know when we hear something official on his status.
Thank you, Jen.
And I mean, I'm not going to lie to you and say that this is probably going to do anything good for him coming back out in the career world. Let's read from CNN. Antonio Brown is no longer part of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after he takes off his jersey and leaves the sideline mid-game, coach says. From Amir Vera and Homero de la Fuente of CNN. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers' 28-24 victory over the New York Jets wasn't without drama on Sunday. Bucs receiver Antonio Brown seems to have retired mid-game as he was seen on the sideline taking off his jersey and walking away from the team. Video from CBS showed that Brown appeared to be upset on the sideline and inexplicably started to remove his jersey and pads, while teammates pleaded with him to stay. A shirtless Brown could be seen throwing his undershirt into the stands as he made his way into the stadium's tunnel while waving a peace sign. He's no longer a Buck, all right, that's the end of the story, head coach Bruce Arians said in a post-game interview. Bucs quarterback Tom Brady told reporters after the game the incident was obviously a difficult situation. We all love him and care about him deeply, Brady said, adding that the relationship goes beyond teammates. I think that everyone should be compassionate and empathic towards some very difficult things that are happening. Brady said that he was unaware of the details of the incident until after the game. In the game, Brown tweeted a photo of himself with a cryptic caption, Super Gremlin. A couple of hours later, Brown tweeted the link to his new single, Pit Not the Palace. The incident comes a week after Brown said that he was suspended in December for 3 games without pay following a league investigation that determined he violated the Pinko Pox protocols. In a news release, the NFL said there was evidence that Brown and 2 other players had misrepresented their vaccination status. The other 2 players were Buccaneers safety Mike Edwards and free agent wide receiver John Franklin, who has been on the Bucs practice squad. The Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Brown in 2010, and he played for them for the first 9 seasons of his career. Brown was then traded to the then Oakland Raiders ahead of the 2019 season, but was released before playing in the regular season. Brown then signed on with the New England Patriots and played 1 game before being released again days after his former offseason athletic trainers filed the lawsuit, accusing him of rape and assault in 2017 and 2018. Brown denied the allegations and said he was going to fight to clear his name. The NFL said at the time there was an ongoing investigation into Brown's conduct. Brown then signed a 1-year deal with the Buccaneers in October of 2020. So, I mean, this is not the first time that this guy's had an issue. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But regardless, I mean, as we look at this and as we see where this goes, there are ways to look at this and there are ways to watch with this. And I think some of this is raising awareness to the level of second-class citizenship that these vaccine mandates are bestowing onto people. 3-game suspension. Now, yes, once again, of course, we have to look at the fact that this guy has had numerous problems. He's had a rape accusation. And isn't this the guy where his personal chef ratted him out for the vaccination status too? Isn't that who this guy is? But yes, now he's coming off and there were cheers from the stands. There were cheers for him to do it. But yeah, the coach has come out and said, no, he's not a Buccaneer anymore. He's done. We're not doing this shit anymore. And a little bit on the market side of this from Fox Business, Antonio Brown's meltdown may cost him more than the spot on the Bucs. From Ryan Gatos. Antonio Brown's meltdown during the Tampa Bay Buccaneers comeback win over the New York Jets on Sunday appeared to end up hitting him in the wallet the most. Not only did Buccaneers coach Bruce Arians tell reporters after the game that Brown is no longer a Buck, the star wide receiver who scored a touchdown in Super Bowl 55, I had to think about my Roman numerals there for a second, for the team missed out on several contract incentives with his season ending early. Spot Track detailed what Brown needed to earn those contract incentives. He signed a one-year, $3.1 million guaranteed contract with Tampa Bay in the offseason. And then that's the video that we just watched over in the Daily Wire. Antonio Brown needed 8 more catches to unlock a $333,333 bonus. He also needed 55 receiving yards to unlock another $333,333 bonus. He needed just 1 receiving touchdown to unlock another $333,333 bonus. This was a costly outburst. Yeah, he cost himself $1 million off of this, but to what extent? What price do you pay on your own bodily autonomy? The right to make your decisions for yourself. What price comes with that? I gotta ask you that. So, and that's, of course, them coming back and reviewing the team as where they came off of this. But, yeah, honestly, I applaud this guy. If they're going to come out and make him a little minstrel show, say, dance puppet, dance, get the vaccine, tell everyone else to go get the vaccine, whether you believe it or not. No, we don't care about Tuskegee experiments here. Go out and get the vaccine. Don't ask questions. Don't you dare ask questions. Then, yeah, Brown has every right to come back out in the middle of the game and say, fuck this, I'm out. Not do a press conference, not do it on Twitter, in the middle of a nationally televised game with 1 million people watching. And wasn't this a Sunday night game too? So, like, the one game that was going on at the time. Let me look at that. Day, night, game, 1, 2. No, the Packers was the night game. I don't watch football anymore. No, that was a midday game. But even still, televised and walking across the field in the middle of a football game with full stands and a full television audience. Good on him for standing up for what he believed in. Absolutely. What was it? Was it that Kaepernick used to say? Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. My Kaepernick sounds like my Lindsey Graham. Alright, from the Washington Post, where democracy goes to die in darkness. China harvests masses of data on Western targets, documents show. From Kate Cadell. China is turning a major part of its internal internet data surveillance network outward, mining Western social media, including Facebook and Twitter, to equip its government agencies, military, and police with information on foreign targets, according to the Washington Post review of hundreds of Chinese bidding documents, contracts, and company filings. China maintains a countrywide network of government data surveillance services called public opinion analysis software that were developed over the past decade and are used domestically to warn officials of politically sensitive information online. The software primarily targets China's domestic internet users and its media, but a post-review of bidding documents and contracts for over 300 Chinese government projects since the beginning of 2020 include orders for software designed to collect data from foreign targets from sources such as Twitter, Facebook, and other Western social media. The documents, publicly accessible through domestic government bidding platforms, also show that agencies, including state media, propaganda departments, police, military, and cyber regulators, are purchasing new or more sophisticated systems to gather data. Can't they just buy it from Zuckerberg again? These include a $320,000 Chinese state media software program that mines Twitter and Facebook to create a database of foreign journalists and academics, a $216,000 Beijing police intelligence program that analyzes Western chatter on Hong Kong and Taiwan, using a cyber center in Xinjiang, home to most of China's Uyghur population, that catalogs the mainly Muslim minority group's language content abroad. Now we can better understand the underground network of anti-China personnel, said a Beijing-based analyst who works for a unit reporting to China's Central Propaganda Department. The person, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss their work, said that they were once tasked with producing a data report on how negative content relating to Beijing's senior leadership is spread on Twitter, including profiles of individual academics, politicians, and journalists. These surveillance dragnets are part of a wider drive by Beijing to refine its foreign propaganda efforts through big data and artificial intelligence. They also form a network of warning systems designed to sound real-time alarms for trends that undermine Beijing's interests. So there you go. If you start something anti-communist trending, China's going to know about it, and they're going to come back. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but they're going to know about it. I am probably on China's most wanted list at this point because I hate the Communist Party. I think it takes away your bodily autonomy. And I think the whole idea needs to be rethought. But as if we didn't know that this was already going on. From CNN, some Ukrainian news. Now we've got some tweets to come off with at the end here before we go on to rules of acquisition. Hopefully we'll see some of the ignorance in here for that. I chose to put some of the fun stuff at the end for them. Biden tells Ukrainian president that U.S. will respond decisively if Russia further invades. From Ali Malloy and Paul LeBlanc. President Biden told Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Sunday that the U.S. and its allies will respond decisively if Russia further invades Ukraine, according to a readout of a call between the two leaders provided by the White House. Dude. You don't have the military capability. Well, you have the military capability to do this, but you don't have the will of the people to back you up on this. The two spoke just a few days before Biden urged Russian President Vladimir Putin to ease the unremitting military crisis on Ukraine's border, and before Russian and U.S. officials are set to meet in person in Geneva later this month. Zelensky said in a tweet on Sunday evening that Biden underscored the special nature of our relations. He added, joint actions of Ukraine, U.S., and partners in keeping peace in Europe, preventing further escalation, reforms, and de-oligarchization, say that 5 times fast, were discussed. Ukraine, Zelensky added, appreciates the unwavering support. As many as 100,000 Russian troops have remained amassed at the Ukrainian border despite warnings from Biden and European leaders of serious consequences should Putin move ahead with an invasion, and U.S. intelligence findings have estimated that Russia could begin a military offensive in Ukraine as soon as early 2022. Biden said that Friday that he made it clear in his call with Putin that there would be a heavy price to pay if Russia invades the Ukraine and threaten heavy economic sanctions. Putin had told Biden that introducing a new round of sanctions against Russia would amount to a colossal mistake. That would lead to a complete breakdown of relations between the two countries, a Kremlin aide said. Russia has been demanding security guarantees from the U.S. and NATO, including a binding pledge that NATO won't expand further east and will not allow Ukraine to join the military alliance. Biden, however, has signaled that the U.S. will not make any concessions on either NATO or Ukraine's future. Dude, I swear to God, If an Arab terrorist blows up a Russian oil rig, we have the beginning of Red Storm Rising happening right now. Well, no, that's not true, because it was still the Soviet Union when Red Storm Rising was written. But other than that, this sounds really familiar. If you haven't read Tom Clancy's Red Storm Rising, I recommend it. But yeah, it's hard to believe that just a few days ago I was discounting the fact that we could actually be doing this, and hey, it's starting to look like we might actually do this. And of course, because the House has to get into it, the warmongers over there, from the New York Post, Adam Schiff says Ukraine invasion likely as Biden prepares for call with Zelensky. From Mark Moore. So this is immediately before what we just read from CNN. Representative Pencil-Neck Schiff, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, said Sunday that he believes it's very likely that Russia will invade the Ukraine as President Biden prepared for another call with President Volodymyr Zelensky about the tense standoff. I fear that Putin is very likely to invade. I still frankly don't understand the full motivation for why. Why now he's doing this? I know why! And you're on the Intelligence Committee. You have the documents. You have the documents about the turning of the frogs gay and stuff like that. You have all the information. I don't have all the information you have, and you know what, Adam Schiff? I still know why. But he certainly appears intent on it unless we can persuade him otherwise, Schiff said on NBC News. And I think nothing other than a level of sanctions that Russia has never seen will deter him, and that's exactly what we need to do with our allies, he added. Biden said he warned President Putin during their phone call on Thursday that he will be hit with severe sanctions if an attack launches against the Ukraine. I made it clear to President... Oh, that's Biden. I made it clear to President Putin that we will have severe sanctions and we will increase our presence in Europe with NATO allies, Biden told reporters last Friday. Somebody in that sliver of land has something on the Burisma thing. I guarantee it. And that's why they're not letting it go over, or trying not to let it go over to Russia right now. It all starts with Burisma. You know it as well as I do. It all starts with Burisma. We made it clear he cannot, I'll emphasize, he cannot invade the Ukraine, the president said. Excuse me. Mike Turner of Ohio, the top Republican House Intelligence Committee, said it's hard to gauge Putin's intentions with Ukraine amid the buildup of thousands of Russian troops and heavy military equipment along Ukraine's eastern border. But what they're doing now, we know, is threatening Ukraine as a valid elected democracy, both having invaded it prior and annexing portions of the country in Crimea and the Donbass region, destabilizing the country and seeking to have a portion of the country align itself with Russia, then threatening the remainder of the country, Turner said on Fox News' Sunday Morning Futures. Yeah, this all comes down to Burisma. This is a real threat to NATO and the US, and certainly democracies, and the fact that Russia could be using tanks to change the map of the world against a democracy, I think, should be troubling to all of our allies, Turner said. Putin was hit with several rounds of sanctions after Russia allegedly annexed Crimea in 2014 and began backing pro-separatist forces in the Donbass region of the eastern Ukraine. Biden's calls to Zelensky and Putin allowed the Russian leaders' demands that the U.S. and European allies provide security guarantees that include not allowing the Ukraine to become a member of NATO and not deploying missile systems inside the former Soviet bloc nation. So, a lot of stuff moving here, a lot of stuff going on with this. This is probably... Well, we'll see what happens coming into midterms. I'm not going to predict that this comes off right into the heat of midterms, but there's something building here, and I'm not sure where it's going to go. So we will see what happens there. All right. Just a couple more for our friends up in the Northeast. And then we'll have some fun with Twitter, and then we'll head out of here for the day. New York Governor Hochul declares racism a public health crisis. From Jessica Chasmar. New York Governor Kathy Hochul signed legislation that went into effect on Saturday that declares racism a public health crisis. The Democratic governor signed a package of bills last month aimed at addressing racial injustice and promoting racial equity in the state. Among them is a new law that officially declares racism a public health crisis and establishes a racial equity working group within the State Department of Health to make recommendations for legislative action. For far too long, communities of color in New York have been held back by systemic racism and inequitable treatment, Hochul said in a December 23rd press release. I'm proud to sign legislation that addresses this crisis head-on, addressing racism, expanding equity, and improving access for all. State Democrats cheered the moves in spite of the fact that it's their policies, because how long has it been? How long has it been that New York has been under Democratic rule? It's their own goddamn policies. And really honestly, if you want to address what's happening in the black community, I would start by figuring out why the people in Harlem can't stop fucking shooting at each other. Alright. And the last one before we go have some fun here. Well, this is where I'm going to start having fun here. How a Category 5 hurricane could wipe out New York City for good. From Eric Spitznagel. Full disclosure, I haven't read this article yet. The hurricane that destroys New York City happens in a single night. Red Hook, the most vulnerable New York neighborhood, no longer exists, writes Stephen March in his new book, The Next Civil War, Dispatches from the American Future. Simon & Schuster, out on Tuesday, several witnesses report seeing a baby floating in a stroller. Oh, Jesus. Well, this is hammed up. Even when the water starts to recede, the damage is unprecedented. Prospect Park isn't Prospect Park anymore, continues March. The trees have tumbled, whole families are curled up inside the sweep of horizontal branches, people are sleeping under bushes in its days of upended lives. The bridges in and out of Manhattan are flooded, as are the airports. Soon most of the New York is underwater. And the power goes out across the city. The governor calls in the National Guard, and 100,000 soldiers make their way into downtown Manhattan. Anybody with a boat, from New England fishing vessels to motorboats that probably shouldn't be on open water, offers a ride to safety starting at $5,000 per seat. Sounds like a you problem. A gentlemanly 50-year-old strides onto one of the larger skiffs, tapping his phone as if paying for a latte at Starbucks. It's a chilling hypothetical. It's like something out of the Twilight Zone episode, but it really could happen, argues March, who describes the devastation caused by an imaginary Category 5 hurricane called Muriel to explain his theory. Over the last 40 years, Category 5 hurricanes have increased by 300% globally, he writes, and superstorms in the eastern seaboard are no longer a rarity. They never have been a rarity in 37 years. Let's back that up a little bit. In like 32 years that I've been watching news, superstorms on the East Coast have never been a rarity. Ever. Ever. The one thing there is reasonable consensus that at least for hurricane activity in the U.S. overall is an increase in the frequency and intensity of Category 5 or Category 4 or Category 5 hurricanes. Peter Susinis, the director of climate change research at AIR Worldwide, says in his book, didn't we have no hurricanes in 2020? There was 1 year where we got 0 hurricanes that made landfall. We had a couple tropical storms, but we had 1 year where there were 0. I can't remember if it was 19 or 20. I think it was 19, actually. Where there were just no hurricanes. And the biggest sitting target is New York, because Susinis said it's flat. Once again, that sounds like a you problem. Vivek Chandas, director of the Institute for Sustainable Solutions at Portland State University in Portland, also points to New York as being incredibly high on the list of vulnerable cities. She notes that it's been a disaster waiting to happen since the 18th century, thanks to its questionable infrastructure created long before hurricanes were a real concern. Hurricane Sandy in 2012 was a warning shot, and it wasn't even technically a hurricane when it hit New York. Dubbed a superstorm, Sandy was a combination tropical storm and nor'easter after it decimated 8 tunnels and stranded millions of commuters between Brooklyn and Lower Manhattan. The recovery effort caused a staggering $32.8 billion. Since then, measures have been adopted to protect the city against a similar climate event. When the subway flooded after Sandy, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority spent $4.5 billion on new technology, like flex gates, a retractable stairwell cover, and other flood protection measures. But it was designed with a storm like Hurricane Sandy in mind, though not the strongest. A 1938 New England hurricane, which struck Long Island as a Category 3, was the deadliest, killing more than 60 people. Sandy sparked fears of what could come next. What would a Category 5 storm do with an extra half-foot of sea surge to do? Asked March. Alright, so, well, I guess my first question is when I found out about this, that a Category 5 hurricane could wipe out New York City for good. Do we do a rain dance or something? Can Elizabeth Warren teach us how to do one of those? Can we just solve the problem right here? I mean, I will go find a tree made out of gopher bark and get Quest Fanning out of the city. We will do that. I will make an ark big enough to fit the 3 people in that family and a few other people that are important to him. And a Subaru. We will do that, but, I mean, at some point here, we gotta look at what's going on with the corruption, with the infighting between boroughs, and everything else that goes along with this. And say, is this really a loss at this point? And we just, at that point, when we get everybody out that we care about, make sure that nobody looks back because somebody will be standing there as a pillar of salt when we're done. But I mean, there's just... And we can poke fun at this too, but there are other things that are active to this as well. I mean, we looked at the storm that came up inland and then ripped back around and still flooded out New York. That was still a weak tropical storm off of this. One of the advantages of being up in the northern New England part as opposed to being in like Florida or something, which gets battered by hurricanes, by the way, just about every year. I'm not going to say every year, obviously, because we had the year without hurricanes, but I mean, the people of Florida accepted the fact that there were going to be hurricanes when they moved there. They have hurricane parties. They stand out in the hurricane with an American flag, waving their long hair around. And they don't wait for the government to come back and give them permission to start living their lives again, either. But what's nice about living up in like the northern New England area, and it's about the only nice thing about that, New York City, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, stuff like that, is that by the time any tropical storm gets up there, the colder water has sapped a lot of the power back out of it. It is very unlikely for something to still have hurricane force, with the exception of the one Category 3 that we talked about in this article. It is very statistically unlikely for something to get and maintain that level getting up there. You might get a bunch of rain, but that's about it at this point. But that's what we see for there. And I mean, I'll take a rain dance lesson if I need one. All right, let's have a little bit of fun here. We got some tweets to finish out the show, and then we'll do rule of acquisition, head out of here for the day. Matt Whitlock. Matt Whitlock tweets out, Kamala's response to questions about inflation really highlights that constant complaint from her staffers that she refuses to wade into briefing materials. Let's listen.
People, they are going into their third year of this pandemic. You're talking about cost of living. Was it wrong to consider inflation transitory? I mean, these price spikes seem like they're going to be with us for a while.
We have to address the fact that we got to deal with the fact that folks are paying for gas, paying for groceries, and need solutions to it. So let's talk about that. Short-term solution includes what we need to do around the supply chain, right? So we went to the ports of Los Angeles, Long Beach, Savannah, Georgia, and said, hey guys, no more 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 24/7. Let's move the products because people need their they need what they need. We're dealing with it in terms of the long term, and that's about what we need to do to pass Build Back Better. It strengthens our economy.
People, they are going into their third year of this pandemic. You're talking about cost of living.
So, she doesn't know. She has no idea. Oh, well, we had the shipping containers. We had them. The shipping containers moving 24/7 now. You know what's missing out of the stores right now? Meat. And I know because I went to go back and start to restock after being out of the house for a week. I went back to go start restocking on some of the dry goods and some of the meats and whatnot that I need to have going through and starting off and going back to work. Meat is what's missing right now. That's what's gone. So, yeah, Harris, you have no idea what's happening here. You don't have to go to the grocery store. You have people to go back and do that for you. And a lot of that is sourced, at least more locally. It's not always local. Your chicken, your pork, and everything that you have coming up out of the on your store shelf. That's not always local, but it's more local than some of your dry goods that are out there. So, yeah. Conversations like this can be intense. Don't forget the human behind the screen. They're putting a lot of that out there lately. Have you guys noticed? Has anybody other than me noticed that this one's cropping up a lot? And this one here, which is a thread. This is a 2-tweet thread, and then she had a follow-up after that on a completely separate tweet. We have more of this shit. Now, this is, I believe, a member of parliament out of Scotland, if I remember correctly. But this came up to me here. Pedophiles and predators are not people, not boogeymen under the bed. Oh, they are people. Pedophiles and predators are people, not boogeymen under the bed. Not Mac wearing flashes in the street, faceless and nameless. Our family, friends, and colleagues. Hold on. I need to read this with its original backdrop. Pedophiles and predators are people, not boogeymen under the bed. Not Mac wearing flashes in the street, faceless and nameless. They are family, friends, and colleagues. They're not scary monsters. They're people who abuse. It's uncomfortable to humanize them because then we have to face their horrors in plain sight. Headlines read, daughter, not pedophile, to provoke something in us, not for good purposes, but use it. Yes, a daughter did do that. Daughters can be capable of doing that. Horrifying, isn't it? Face it and warn our kids. You know, it kind of reminds me of... I can't think of the lady's name from the Sex Offender Shuffle, but I'm here to prove that girls can do it too. I'm here because I touched my cousin. Was it worth it? No, it wasn't. Except for this is a woman who's advocating for people who touch little kids. Or prey on little kids, or who fantasize about little kids. Doubling down. I want to point out why this is important in just a second. Gosh, I'm so blown away by the support. Thank you so much. Cross-party and political divide too. It comes as no surprise to me that when I speak the truth about sexual predators, there's always a man there to misrepresent words of gaslight. Tale as old as time. I won't ever wished. And I don't know anything about Scottish slang, so I have no idea what wished means. Alright, so I want to talk about that for just a second. There's a reason I included this second tweet here. I'm so blown away by the support. Thank you so much. Cross-party and political divide too. What do we know about this tweet right here? Only people that Karen Adams, MSP, follows or mentioned can reply. You don't say. The only people who are replying to your tweet are your little fucking simps. That love you, the people that follow you, or that you follow. Isn't that weird? That you're getting an outpouring of support from this? Isn't that strange, you guys? I'm shocked that she's getting such an outpouring of support from this. Aren't you? Alright, and then the last one, just because it was hilarious. This is an old, well, not old tweet. In terms of Twitter, it's an old tweet. But this is all the way back from September 27th of 2021. Anne, who is engaged, apparently, at Mirror Her, tweets out, how many LGBTQIA plus folks were traumatized as a child with this? And she's got the dodgeball. To which Jay, at OneFineJ, we don't need the wood chipper going anymore. At which Jay tweets back out, so, do the red balls home in on homosexuals? I understand where Anne was going with this, actually. I'm going to give Anne the benefit of the doubt on this. Now, what Jay said was really fucking funny. I'm not going to lie about that. It was really funny. But I would give Anne the benefit of the doubt on this, growing up in the 90s and, you know... Can I say it's Merely Queer on YouTube? Just remembering that game going through the gyms at the time. Well, if I can't say it, I'm going to have a strike when I get done with this. But I remember hearing that, and, you know, what did the bullies call you? They called you gay, they said you liked little boys, even if you didn't. Because, you know, I grew up in a small town, high school, where that didn't happen. And the few people that were gay were pretty much in the upper echelons of the small town society. One of which because he had the right last name. They were the popular kids. But I can't understand where she's going from with this. But, I mean, yeah, it's not like they just homed in on them. It's not like that. Everybody got hit with those damn things. I was taken off my feet by one of those things. It's not a unique experience. It's not a unique thing to gay kids. I'm sorry. Nice try. Good job. Yeah. Nicole Pinkston. That ball was rated E for everybody. We all got hit with that thing. Alright. Let's finish out the show here. Let's grab one of the Ferengi Rules of Acquisition. And if you're on Twitch, stick around because we will go back and I will host Daily Ignoramus for the rest of the day until 5:30. So stick around with that and we'll just go seamlessly right back into it. Congratulations once again to 3 years on Daily Ignoramus. You deserve it. You're one of the best people on the internet and one of the best people in my life. I will say that too. All right, where were we? Where were we? Which one did we leave off with? It's been a while, I know that.
Do or do not. There is no try.
I think we are on 44, because I think 43 was the one that we did last week. I could probably always just go back to the old episode and reference it again. But I think we're on 44 right now. So the 44th rule of acquisition for the Ferengi is never confuse wisdom with luck. This comes from a DS9 accompaniment reference book, the Ferengi Rules of Acquisition, which of course does not cover all of the rules of acquisition here. This was never used canonically on screen. This was not ever used canonically in any of the novelizations or anything, any of the novels, any of the companion novels, any of the beta novels, but it's still something that it's important to have on this list. It's something that I think should have probably been closer up to the top. Never confuse wisdom with luck. And that's what we should be doing with life anyway. We look at some of these people, especially like when I was really, really poor, living in Kenosha. You look at some of these people and you say, hey, that guy's really lucky. He's got his business, he's got his nice truck, and some of that is right place in the right time. Some of that is luck. Like my cousin with his nice truck, his truck that doesn't come out in the winter, there was luck that was involved with that. He had to be driving by the right road at the right time in order to make sure that he had a chance to have that vehicle. And then also have the wisdom to have his finances in order when he got it. And I mean, it's a beautiful vehicle, not a spot of rust on it. It's having a little bit of trouble right now just because of the age, but that comes with any vehicle off of there. There's not a lot of miles on it and anything like that, but there is an aspect of wisdom and luck that both go together. They're two sides to the coin. There are two things that we have to watch for with that. So don't confuse wisdom with luck. Sometimes it's not just that the person got lucky. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's the person knew what to do with their investments, with the lot that they were given in life. And sometimes they were given a crappy hand, but they were able to turn it back around. The people who can do both, they get a little bit of luck, but also have the wisdom that go with it, they're the ones who are going to go to places. And the people who can get the bad luck and still turn it around to something good, that's where the wisdom comes in. And that's the important part. And with that, we are going to head out of here for the day. Let's get the track changed up and let's go. So, thank you everybody once again for coming back in studio here for Contemporary. We'll be back here later on tonight for an announcement stream, so come back and hang out with us for that. That is at 5:30 Central Time, of course, so come hang out with us with that. Stick around on Twitch if you are sticking around on Twitch, and we will go head over and raid the Daily Ignoramus, so come hang out with us for that. That's going to be a great time as well. And stick around with him for celebrating his 24 hours of stream for his 3rd anniversary of streaming. We'll also be back here tomorrow with more Contemporary, more news headlines, and more news to go. So come back and hang out with us for that, and we will see you then. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care. Have a great day.